We're live. Hi, everybody.
COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back.
Hello, fellow isolators, and welcome to the program for another day. This is Coping with Isolation, episode 39 on a beautiful sunny day downtown Toronto right now. And that sun is staying out later and later. Alexa, what time is sunset?
Toronto's local sunset will be at 8:17 p.m.
8:17. Well, you know what? Once we get out, it's just going to be perfect summer evenings, isn't it? It's just going to be perfect summer evenings. Fantastic. All right. I am now going to, if you will permit me, hold on, play the national anthem of Belgium. Now, the reason I am playing the national anthem of Belgium is that it is now the national duty. I said duty. Pause, hold on. It is the national duty of Belgians to eat French fries. Let's bring up the screen here. Coronavirus. Belgians urged to eat more chips. In fact, Belgians are being asked to increase their French fry consumption to 2 times a week because potato farmers are worried that some of the crop is going to rot. So it is your national duty, if you are a Belgian, to eat more French fries. I wonder if that means poutine as well. I would hope so. Okay, we are gonna have an interesting show today because I was just and I want to put my cards on the table right now and be fully transparent. Because I am talking with someone today who represents a health benefit company, and they do have a for-profit website, but they have now, because of COVID, opened it up to Canadians in general, and it's called Beacon. And it's a site we're going to talk more about in just a moment with someone who is very, of course, close to it. But what they have allowed Canadians is a free access to portions of this site to help them with their mental health during isolation. And Dr. Kush Amaria, who is a clinical psychologist and senior clinical director of the GTA-based psychology practice, CBT Associates, and a senior clinical director with Beacon Digital Therapy. She and Beacon are offering a free online service to all Canadians dealing with isolation. Hello, Dr. Amaria. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So let's first of all, and again, in order to be transparent, I want to say that I found this site because I was just Googling today, coping with isolation, and it was one of the top hits. But I have since found out as well that my daughter does work for an ad company that represents Manulife and Green Shield Canada and Beacon. So this is not as a result of her asking me to do this. I'm doing this because I think this is a great program and a great site. So just cards on the table there. Just wanted to be completely transparent with that. So tell me a little bit about the Beacon site itself.
For sure. So Beacon is actually the name of our digitally, what I would say, digitally delivered CBT experience. And so the program that we've launched is actually called Stronger Mind.
And then I discovered Beacon right at my fingertips. Beacon is a therapy that's completely digital. It helps me build emotional resilience. When I began, the first step was a detailed online assessment.
I'm doing CBT. It's a
clinically...
hold
on.
Help with mild to moderate.
Sorry, I apologize. You know what?
Yep.
You know what? It's just the crew on this show. I'm talking about myself. I had your mic down. I'm so sorry. All right, so let's pretend that everybody heard my question, but let's talk a little bit about the Beacon site again. My deepest apologies. Okay.
What we've started and what we've launched is something called Stronger Minds by Beacon. And just as you sort of described it, what we've been doing is making sure that Canadians are going to have access to supports, to ideas, strategies around how to deal with the COVID crisis, and really taking the best of what's out there from all of our clinical experts and making sure that the day-to-day person can learn, can read something, and feel like they have, just one more way to manage all the stress that's going on right now.
Now, during isolation, and if you go to the site, it's right on the homepage that all Canadians can access portions of the site for free.
Yeah. So Stronger Minds is fully free. And the idea behind that was we were going to launch materials and do all of this indefinitely. So as long as people need support around COVID, the idea was as long as you have an email address, you can sign up for an account for Stronger Minds by Beacon and come along this journey with us. We've been launched officially for just a hit. I think we've got 3 full weeks complete, and we've got lots and lots of things in there. And so I'm so excited that, like you said, you found it kind of organically, looking for ways to cope with COVID. And the fact that people will come to us for that kind of help is really exciting, to be honest.
Okay. I would like to, before we continue on, all right, I'm gonna scold all my viewers right now. Stop it. Everybody's talking about the potatoes and poutine, and now when I said Beacon, they're saying, oh, now I'm thinking of bacon. Stop it, all of you, because you're making me hungry. That's the main discussion going on right now is bacon and potatoes. So here we go. This is an especially tough time, and I think I've argued that maybe we're in the hardest part of it right now, because the first few weeks of isolation, it was new, it was something we could cope with, and we're in this together. Now it's like, I am so sick and tired of being inside. Now I think more than ever, we need to stop and assess how mindful we are, because that's what's going to carry us through the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think you're actually right. You said stop and assess, and that's such a big part of most therapeutic approaches, right? It's that ability to stop and check in with yourself. And you're right. It doesn't matter if it's, your 4th week of isolation or your 8th week of isolation, to stop and go, how am I actually handling things right now? Maybe week 1 to 4, we're just like you said, totally fine. You find your role, you figure out what you're going to do. But as you're kind of entering those nice, warm nights and going, oh, this is not what I want to be doing. So you're right. We have to check in with ourselves and see how we're coping and how we're feeling right now.
So
some of us will be okay.
No, it's sorry. I didn't mean to walk all over you there. Okay, so let's talk about a few of the tips right now. And I think the number one thing that most people say, I'm just going to bring us back up here. One of the top things people talk about here on this show, especially, is sleep, and that is covered in this site. And so some of the things that are covered in sleep are keep a consistent sleep schedule, as well. Stay active, skip the nap, continue a bedtime routine, reserve your bed for sleep, and lastly, don't sweat it. So I'll get you to expand on those a bit.
Definitely. Those are some really great strategies that have been around for a long time to deal and support people who have sleep difficulties. And it would be totally normal for any of us to be having sleep difficulties right now. Think about, we're not expending as much energy as we usually do. We're not in our regular routines. And so here you might be thinking, you've got some freedom in your day to operate your day differently, but we still really need to train our bodies to be able to know the difference between daytime and nighttime, to be able to go from the sense of sort of having whatever our new routine is, our new normal, to be able to sort of make sure our internal clock is set. So some of those things include trying to stay up. I wake up at the same time every day, try to go to bed around the same time every day. That helps kind of build our sleep reserve. Same reason why we don't want people napping. When you nap, you sort of use up a little bit of your sleepiness. We want to save that for nighttime. Bedtime routines actually matter. We know this for small children and for even for adolescents, but bedtime routines matter for adults. It's cues to our body to say, hey, shut off, wind down. That's where we tell people, don't have screen time an hour before bed. Don't watch a very stimulating show or the news, because these are all things that are cues to your body to say time to sleep. And I'd be hard pressed to find somebody who hasn't had their sleep affected by everything that's been going on with COVID right now. And so really excited that people might say, oh, there are some strategies I can use. There are things that I can try tomorrow that might work. That last comment about don't sweat it is, all of us have had that experience where you're lying in bed at night thinking about how much sleep you're missing, worried about how tired you're going to be the next day, starting to run those lists in your head of all the different things you need to do. And that is completely opposite of what you need to do. So the idea is don't sweat it. If you haven't fallen asleep, get out of bed, do something boring, try to relax for a little bit, and then just try again later.
Do something boring. Watch this show. Watch me. I've had a couple of comments here saying, well, I'm so tired sometimes that I do need to take a nap. So if you are going to take a nap, when should you take it? How long should it be?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have the perfect answer offhand, but the things that come to mind is everybody probably has the right amount of nap time for them. So I've heard different things such as, you're going to have a nap, have a cup of coffee first, and then go have your nap. So that by the time the coffee kicks in, you might be finding yourself arousing anyways. The idea is you can experiment. If a short nap helps you recharge, and go ahead. Overall, that strategy is not a great strategy to use. We really want people to be able to kind of keep all their sleep for nighttime. If you feel like you need rest in the day, replace it with some other activity. Do something, restful during that time versus necessarily napping.
Mm-hmm. A comment here, and I want to get to it before it disappears completely, is someone was saying that they love the artwork behind you. I'm thinking, is that early Van Gogh? Is that Renoir? What is that over your left shoulder?
Courtesy of 8-year-old Charisma. And so I, like many people, needed to adapt what my home working space was. So I'm in a very interesting spot. It's not quite a hallway. It's not quite room. So if I figured the best thing to do here was just to hide the other people behind there. There you go.
Perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Okay, let's get to another tip. Now, and again, these things are all accessible in the website itself. So let's get to another tip if we could.
Sure.
Mindfulness. And we talk a lot about mindfulness on this program. Believe me, we talk a lot about mindfulness. And I think I've almost got my viewers convinced it is important. But this article here is understanding it a little bit more. We want to pull away the mystique and the mystery surrounding mindfulness.
I like that you recognize that there is mystery associated with, and part of that is because that whole practice of meditation that's associated with a lot of mindfulness is, thousands of years old, and we kind of go to these images of people sitting cross-legged on a floor trying to be present for hours and hours, and that's it. While mindfulness in therapy has sort of come from that, it's really about training and learning to have more control of our attention. So if we have better control of our attention for things like that are happening in our body, so physical sensations, better control of our thoughts, of our emotions, and we can deal with them without judgment, then we have a better chance of having moments in our day where we're not suffering. And so that's where that concept of sort of mindfulness kind of emerged from. And the value of actually being more attentive and having good mindfulness is that it does actually decrease your anxiety, decrease chances of depression. You can understand how, if you have a better sense of where your brain is going, your thoughts are going, you're going to stop yourself from sometimes spiraling out of control. And we've all had those thoughts recently where we're catastrophizing. We're not just worried about getting groceries. Now we're worried about never having, groceries again for the next few months.
I love that $5 word. Catastrophizing. It's a really good word because that's what we sometimes tend to do, and that's where we let our anxiety take us for a ride. Catastrophizing. Yeah, and we do it. We've all done it, whether you've heard the word or not. We've all do it. We're thinking about one thing, and suddenly our brain's gone to the worst case scenario. And you might say, okay, that's all right. Your brain is there, but what happens when your thoughts are at the worst case scenario is your body is too. Your body is reacting and engaging in sort of a stress response. You might find your heart's beating a little bit faster, or you're feeling that tension in your shoulders, or you're even feeling sweaty and having trouble concentrating. And that's because our anxiety, our sort of feelings, and our thinking and our behaviors, they're all connected. You can't really separate them out in a way. And so mindfulness gives you this chance of being able to just notice what some of these thoughts are and try and be a little less judgmental of what our thoughts are and try to be more present. And being more present, again, helps us feel a little bit of relief sometimes from that distressing kind of experience, but also just is a nice feeling to focus on what's really in front of you. So good examples are, that first sip of coffee you have in the morning or at the end of the day, whatever it is.
But if you really attend to that, like that feels good. And it feels good every single time. Every single time.
That, you know what? My morning coffee is a sacred time. So I think that's the time I'm most mindful. Maybe that's what we need to do then, is put some drink in here, even if it's just water, and sit down and be mindful that way. I had a very good comparison given to me by one of my viewers a couple of days ago, because again, I really try and let people know that meditation and being mindful is not something you have to, like you say, sit cross-legged somewhere and have some exotic classes somewhere. They had told me that they saw a website once that said, stare at this dot for 30 seconds. And then it said, there, you just meditated. And when it comes right down to it, isn't that what it is? It's just I'm not thinking about anything else. Right now I'm concentrating on one thing. I think that's wonderful.
I think the ability to be present has such value as independent of the COVID stresses we're dealing with. We all know that being present allows us to really experience what's around us. Right? You might say, well, how present do you want to be while washing the dishes? I'm okay to be in my head pretending like I'm at a beach somewhere. But being present, is when you're having an interaction with somebody, when you're cuddling with your kids, when you're even just listening to somebody who's going through distress. Being present allows you to cope. And kind of accept what's going on. And sometimes that's enough to help you then figure out how to deal with whatever the challenge is, or the pleasant experience. It allows you to experience that better.
Okay, you know what? I'm a little concerned here. I just put a comment up. I don't know if you have a stalker right now, but Addie loves Kush. Addie Amaria just sent in a comment. Is there
I'm surprised he said me and not you. I told you that he was a big fan.
That's your dad.
My dad.
Hello, Addie. How are you? Now, am I saying it right? Am I saying it right, Addie?
Addie.
Okay.
Addie.
Hello,
Yeah,
Addie.
yeah.
And that's great. Okay, we are going to come back in a moment. I'm going to do a quick break here. But when we come back, we're going to talk about job losses and dealing with that, because so many of us have either been laid off, have lost a job, or worried that they may not have a job when they come back. So we're gonna just quickly cut away for a biz bump, and we'll be right back with you. And I want to start, of course, with this biz bump. This is a Canadian company, and they're right here in the GTA. Nest Security is proudly Canadian-owned and operated security solutions company. They want you to know they are still out there for their customers. Their techs have been well-trained in distancing. They have been proudly protecting the GTA, including York Region, for over a quarter century. Get a quote or find out more at nestsecurity.ca. And remember, send in your company's name, and we'll do a free biz bump for them. Let people know that you are still operating. We are talking today with Dr. Kush Amaria, clinical psychologist, and she is working with Manulife and Green Shield Canada on mindbeacon.com. And it's a free site in which you can access, and it will help you with mindfulness and all sorts of mental health problems that could become problems. Mental health issues, I will call them, that could become problems. It is, of course, part of a larger site that is available, and it is a pay site that is available for companies and individuals. And a lot of this stuff is covered by people's benefits as well. So, Dr. Amaria, thank you very much for being here with me this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next one I wanted to get to is something that is quite serious, and it's one thing for me to sit here and say, hey, folks, it's okay, and chin up, and be happy. But there are people out there saying, oh, that's easy for you to say, Kevin. I've lost my job. I don't have a paycheck right now. I'm worried about losing my house. And so one of the tips there deals with job losses on the site that people can access. And some of the tips here, I'll just go over them very quickly, and then you can comment on them, is don't burn yourself out. Don't dwell on the unknown future. Be mindful of tempers. Expect some confusion. All right, take it away, Doctor.
No, those are great. And I think, the first thing to remember is that the stress that we are experiencing is going to be experienced differently for everybody. So the first thing people need to sort of check in on themselves is, where are they holding their stress? Is it in their brain? Are they starting to overthink everything? Is it emotionally? Are they getting agitated? Are they losing their temper? Or, are you finding that you can't focus on anything, or even are having a lot of irritability in different areas? So the first thing we really want people to do, we expect that if you have a job loss, you're going to have some stress right now. So figure out where it is and how it's being experienced for you. Once you've done that, then you have a better chance of figuring out what do you have within your control right now. A lot of management, whether it's job loss or any of the other stressors, is really about figuring out what we can control right now. And there are things that we can control, even in those scenarios, right? We can control, where we put our attention. We can control how physically we let these things impact us. What I really would encourage people who are feeling, maybe really disconnected or confused by a job loss is to not hold that inside. We actually really want people to be able to stay connected to others. So this is not the time to be isolated. This is actually the time to connect with other individuals. We actually know that social connectedness helps protect us and protect our mental health. And so when you're faced with this, one of the things that actually might happen is that, for a change, having a job loss at any time sucks. It really sucks. Having it when, maybe 20% of your fellow Canadians are experiencing it also sucks. However, sometimes there's value in knowing that other people are going through this, and there's lots of supports available. So I encourage people to talk to others, to, get their stress under control in any way that they can. It is all right to take some time in your day to just relax. Yes, you have to deal with the financial insecurities, but you don't have to be facing that 24 hours a day. Spend some time in your day figuring out whether it's mindfulness or some other relaxation strategy. That's going to allow you to use your brain the best to be able to cope.
I think we need to remind ourselves that it's not going to do any good to worry, period. Easy. I know it's easier said than done, Kevin. I know you're yelling at me if you are in this situation. But it's better to use that energy in, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? And I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, because you repeated something that I say quite often, and many, many experts have said quite often on this show, and that is that you need to not only be in the moment, you need to take the time, and you just need to control, and this is so important, control what you can control. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record. Why is that so important, to control what you can control?
Absolutely. And I think when we start to try and control things that are outside of our control, we're faced with a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty is associated with a lot of anxiety and chronic stress. Chronic stress wears and tears on our body and our brains. Doesn't allow us to do anything really well. And so if you can get your stress response in control, we have some great sort of modules on that, you have the best chance to do something. And what that something is, maybe we don't know just yet, but you can do some real problem solving. When you know what you can control, then you can sort of focus on what you can change versus trying to problem solve hypothetical problems. And worry is almost always about hypothetical problems when they start to get out of control. So this gives you the chance to be able to say, okay, you're right, I can't control X, Y, and Z right now, but I can control the rest of today, how I'm going to manage things this week, how much exercise I'm going to get, how much, relaxation time, whatever the things are you need to do. So not trying to control everything is going to make us feel a whole lot more relaxed.
No kidding. Okay. Another section, a whole section actually on this website. We're talking about mindbeacon.com. Another section on this website deals with teens. And one portion of it deals with teens. And a lot of people are complaining about this. My teen barely leaves their bedroom and is on screens all day. What do I do?
Oh, I think I resonate with the parents. I don't have a teenager, but I definitely have ample screen time, more time than I probably ever wanted my kids to have. And the first thing I encourage all parents to do is we do all need to be a little flexible right now. And some of the rules that we might have had before, we have to kind of think a little bit more about them. Remember, teens are, as much as adults and us as humans are just social creatures, teens certainly are too. A big part of, their adolescence is actually building autonomy from parents, right? Becoming less dependent on parents and more independent. And so that time that they're spending in their rooms is really focused on making some social connections. So I talked about how that's important for adults. It's important for teenagers too. We really do want them to be able to connect with their friends, figuring out how each other is dealing with it. And sometimes that means extra screen time. Sometimes that means doors closed more often. It often means a very different sleep schedule than parents. It is also okay for parents to help teens set some structure. So whether it's their hours for schooling, whether it's an expectation of exercise, household chores, following other rules, that is okay too. So we remind parents that you have parenting strategies. You've used these before, although you've never used them for a pandemic before. Some of the same skills and tools that you have can be used now. So be flexible with the rules you might have, but don't throw them all out the window. Because we will have to transition back to real life one day. Yeah. We want our teens to be ready for that, right? This isn't a rule forever. This is a rule for right now.
By the way, on Thursday, we're going to have somebody here from Kids Help Phone, who they have been completely overworked and overloaded, sadly. So we're going to talk to somebody from Kids Help Phone about recognizing when your child may be in distress and isn't sharing it with you. So this is very important. By the way, folks, the crisis numbers are constantly rolling on the corner of the screen. I encourage you, if you are in crisis, you feel you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt someone else, or you're just so overwhelmed, then call these numbers or text these numbers and make use of them. So let's talk a little bit about what parents should know about teens and what are the signs we should look for that our teen may be going into crisis, that it's not just they're going into their room and staying by themselves all day. What else do we need to watch?
Yeah, and that's a tricky scenario for sure. But the first thing is, you're absolutely right. If somebody is needing emergency-like care, we have to be using emergency rooms. We have to use these crisis lines. So some of the things that I encourage parents to do is just remind their young people that you don't need to talk to me, but you may need to talk to somebody. And here are the different ways you can do it. You can talk, you can text. You might encourage a friend to help check in with them and reach out to them. The signs can really vary, but we worry about a lot more withdrawal. We worry about kids or teenagers who might already have some mental health issues and concerns. They're often at higher risk. Things like substance use can get in the way. So all these types of things are the stuff we want parents to be watching out for. Even if your child has their own me time in their room, again, if you're practicing that idea of we need to have some of the time together as a family, whatever it is, maybe it's a meal you catch, maybe it's something in the day, that gives you a checkpoint with your kid, gives you an opportunity to just say, hey, let's check in with each other. It's always a really good idea for parents to model good emotional health and discussion. So as parents, you're allowed to tell your teenager that, yeah, I was really scared today. I was freaking out about X or Y. And I reached out for help. I talked to somebody. I listened to the show. I did whatever it was. And so you're modeling that behavior so teens can also help know for themselves if they're feeling really stressed out. And if you're really ever concerned, our emergency rooms are open and operating for these reasons. This is why we've made so many changes in our healthcare system so that the regular things we need support with are available.
Okay. Let's get to another tip or another section of tips here, and that has to do with couples. So yes, it is really testing the dynamic, isn't it? So let's take a look at these tips here. Create a we need to talk plan. Make plenty of just me time. Know when to give each other space. Important information about abusive domestic situations as well. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But let's start talking about some of the earlier things we talked about. And that is the me time, the giving space.
I have to tell you that I do not do any couples therapy. And so when this section emerged, I was like, what does it tell us? I'm reading through it as a partner and recognizing that this applies for couples. It applies for any relationship you're having. If you're living with other people, the idea of we need to talk is really about when you're ready to have a conversation, you do it in a way that is having both parties ready for it. So it's not fair to come at somebody and say, now's the time, I need to tell you how I'm feeling, but you can plan for that. So the idea of saying, we're going to spend 30 minutes tomorrow even, talking about what's been going on. And so then you can have a plan, like what is it each other needs right now to be able to get through this. And just me time is important, especially for those of us in small quarters, having a lot of overlap, not really being able to kind of leave that space. You can be very clear about what you need. And so it's these statements like, I feel this or I need this. Can't ask for everything, but you can start with something that might help. And the more you can communicate, we know that that's an important skill for any couple. The more you communicate, the better chance you have at preventing small problems from becoming big problems. And that idea of knowing when to give each other space, that's really the idea that we have to also ask for what we need, but it's okay to also observe the other people in your life. You know your partner well. You probably have signs that they've had an off day with maybe they're working at home or the kids are irritating them more. And so it's all right to say, I'm going to give you some room. We'll come back. We'll talk about this when we're later, or I'm here for you if you need me. You don't always have to be problem solving and fixing other people's problems as well. We've just started putting some more material into how to support people in relationships. And those are one of the questions we're having. One of the things we have in Stronger Minds by Beacon is a place for people to tell us what's on their mind. And we're having questions that people are saying, I need a little social distancing from the people I live with right now. How do I do that? And not feel guilty about it. It is okay.
Yeah, and I want to address the last portion of that tip we were talking about, and that is when we talk about abusive situations. And I want to be so clear with this. There are situations out there in which people are living in abusive relationships, men and women, children, and it's only worsened now by isolation. I strongly urge people to use the crisis numbers. Talk to those people just for a moment here who may feel afraid right now.
Absolutely. The one thing that's been so clear with the responses our provincial governments, our federal governments, all these great organizations have been, it's saying that we haven't forgotten about you. We haven't forgotten about people who are really having more stresses and even quite risky scenarios. And so please, whatever way it is possible, reach out to somebody, reach out to the distress lines, reach out to the domestic violence support units. We included it in this material because we just wanted to remind people that it was available there. We hope people don't need to use it, but we know that the reality is there will be individuals who do have to reach out for help.
And I know that some of the websites, such as, I'm just going to wait for it to come back around here. You can't see it, but there are the numbers and the websites are running on the side of our screen. But there's one particular, it's coming up, I think it was the Assaulted Women's Crisis Line. They will make sure that you can contact them completely secret. They help you cover your tracks so you don't have a spouse who will come along and look at your computer history or things like that. This is really important, so I do want to wait for it to come around. So there's Crisis Service Canada. They do an incredible job, especially with suicide prevention, by the way, folks. Kids Help Phone, they need volunteers. We're going to be talking to them on Thursday. You might want to consider volunteering with them. So here comes that. I think it's the Assaulted Women's Hotline. There it is. Text SAFE to number 723. Text to number 7233. And again, they will make sure that your tracks are covered.
Amazing. I mean, we have to be grateful that these groups I know they're working night and day to try and protect our vulnerable. And I think that's incredible. And it's so amazing that you're reminding people that it's out there.
All right. There's something else as well, and I want to bring this up. This is one of the last tips that I wanted to talk about with you, and we'll just bring that one up. The amazing facts about yourself. I love this one. Why is this in particular in here?
Yeah, so that's great. So what Kevin's kind of referring to is, I think we launch it typically on this Saturday. So we have new material coming in almost every day, or I think it actually is every day, to be honest. And we recognize that right now we actually all are feeling a little bit bombarded by the news and about experiences and tips. And so we figured it was okay to also share some really amazing things about people. And we try to take them, of course, in the field of psychology. All of our material in Stronger Minds is curated by psychologists and other mental health clinicians. And so we were thinking there are some really neat things out there. So if it's Saturday morning and you're wanting to check into Stronger Minds and you think, okay, what's going to surprise me today? We're allowed to have moments where we feel okay in all of this. And if we can help with having somebody read 3 or 4 sentences and feel okay for those few minutes, then we're happy to do it.
Because we are amazing creatures. We really are. We sometimes go day to day and don't give one thought to how amazing we are. So let me read out some of these amazing facts. You can hear the temperature of water. Humans have evolved so that they can accurately distinguish between hot and cold water just by the sound it makes. That's pretty amazing.
I think that's pretty cool. To be honest, part of me wants to go and test it out.
I know, me too. Another one is, you are full of bright ideas. The brain generates 10 to 25 watts of power via 100 billion brain cells. Each neuron generates a tiny amount of electricity. there are so many of them that collectively it adds up to a remarkable amount. So we're making energy.
Yeah, yeah. And just sitting around by thinking, right?
But doesn't that make you think as well? Sorry, no pun intended. But doesn't it make you think, though, if you're making that energy, then you don't want to waste energy. You want to put energy to good use. And is there any idea of how much more energy it takes to be anxious and stressed than it does to be calm and in the moment?
Yeah, I always talk about how our anxiety and our stress response system, while it is so great that we have it as humans, it protects us from real threat, it's costly. It's costly to our bodies. Our bodies mostly want to conserve energy. They mostly don't want to use up any extra energy because you have to find it and replace it from somewhere in a way. And so, yes, you can go eat more French fries and replace your energy in Belgium and bring people back to that. But at the end of the day, it wears and tears on us. And so again, the whole idea behind this was not everybody's going to be able to focus energy and time on their mental health, but if there's ways that you can build a bit more resiliency through all of this, we call it this whole idea of stronger minds, right? If you can build some stronger minds, build some resiliency, then maybe it'll give you just that strength you need to cope with whatever the stressors are, the ones that we know are coming our way, the ones that we've already experienced, and the ones we can't plan for.
I think it's a wonderful site, and I encourage people to look at it. Like I say, it is a site that is run by Manulife and Green Shield Canada. Nothing wrong with that. It's mindbeacon.com. But during the period of isolation, they have opened up a separate. What did you call the section of the site again?
Yeah, so it's Stronger Minds. Stronger Minds by Beacon. Yeah.
So you can go to mindbeacon.com. It's right on the front page. Yeah. However, as well, they do offer. I went through them. They offer some quite interesting and good online therapy. And so try getting an appointment with a therapist sometimes. But a lot of this service is also covered by your benefits plan. So you may want to check on that as well, and they'll help you check on that. So I do want to give them a shout out. They're not paying me for this. I'm not getting anything out of this. And like I said, just to be fully transparent, my daughter does work for an ad company that does represent mindbeacon.com. However, she just texted me to tell me that just before I went on the air, so I didn't even know. I don't want people accusing me of trying to do something for a profit here, because we're not doing anything for a profit here at all. So thank you very much for spending this time with me. Do you want to say anything else about the site and what people could be looking for?
And I think I'm so glad that you recognize that Manulife and Green Shield are involved. And I think the thing I'll just remind people of is that Manulife is a benefits provider, and they really have seen firsthand the effects of stress that people can have, and it's positive programs like this that have a better impact. And so that's why they've invested in making this program available to Canadians. And Green Shield Canada is also a sponsor. And the idea was, a few weeks back, as a company said, what are we doing to support Canadians? And I always joke that we couldn't make face masks, we couldn't, make hand sanitizer, but what we could do was take some really good information that's out there about, keeping our minds strong, about our psychological well-being, and help people. That's my goal. That's the whole reason I became a psychologist in the first place, was try to help people through stressors. I did not expect to be helping people through a pandemic, but here we are getting to use really amazing strategies that are not hard to do. You don't have to do them perfectly, just to pick something, and maybe that's the thing that gets you through the day. So I really appreciate you having me on here and giving, I'm so glad that you found this just by yourself.
Yeah.
That makes me excited, right? That anybody else who's searching can do the same thing and come across some strategies that are going to help them.
All right. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Dr. Kushamari, clinical psychologist, senior clinical director of the GTA-based psychology practice, CBT Associates, and a senior clinical director with Beacon Digital Therapy. So here we are. Here we are again. How many times have I talked about mindfulness and being in the moment and trying to control only what you can control? It keeps coming up, doesn't it? You know why? Because it works. It really does work. And if you've been a little bit hesitant about giving it a try, let's do that right. Let's do that right now. What one of the viewers had suggested. If at no other time during the day that you spent some time with yourself, why not right now? And let's do it I'll tell you what, 20 seconds. Parker, I want you to time 20 seconds for me, okay? And just tell me when you're starting. See, he's going to get a timer going instead of just counting to 20. All right, are you all set? Okay, ready? Start now. Everybody, look at the tip of that pen. Just look at the tip of that pen. Nothing else. Just look at the tip of the pen. Don't think about anything else. Nothing. That's got to be 20 seconds. Oh, you made it 30. Oh, bam! You were just in the moment. You were just cognitive. You were aware only of this moment and this moment only. You weren't thinking about your job. You weren't thinking about what to make for supper. You weren't thinking about tomorrow or when this is all going to end, about anything. You just spent a little time for yourself. You deserve that every day. And it is not something that is, it's a luxury. I don't have 20 minutes for myself. Yes, you do. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting there. No, you're not. You are sitting there being in the moment, and you don't even realize it. But you're allowing your mind to take a breath and to relax. And we all need that from time to time. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your mind just to give yourself 20 lousy minutes a day. So close the door. Tell people to go away. Tell them you're by yourself right now. It's me time. And spend 20 minutes looking at the tip of a pen. And that's why they say listen to your breathing. Because it's a great way to just be in that moment. It's also a chance, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you sometimes feel overwhelmed, it's a reset. I encourage you to spend 20 minutes every day. Remember that daily plan that we got from Angela May Martin, I think? Yes, from Google. And it had said to have 3 mindful moments a day. 3 mindful moments a day. And we had Dr. Patricia Rockman from the Mindfulness studies, who had said 3 minutes 3 times a day, and it would do you a world of good. I would like you to do 20 minutes, half an hour each time, but if you can only spare 3 minutes, then so be it. At least give yourself 3 minutes. Okay, let's talk about what's coming out tomorrow. This is going to be an exciting show tomorrow. I love this. We're going to be talking about positivity. And the positivity is going to be coming from students, from teens, and that. So this is a video that we are going to have the world premiere of tomorrow. It's a video that was crowdsourced by by a student here in Toronto and put on by the Toronto Student Media Network. So the animation was also done by a student. The artwork done by students. So we're going to have the world premiere tomorrow. And you know what? We'll have the world premiere tomorrow, but heck, I'm going to leave you with a quick sneak peek of the video and the incredible voice. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. Just fine. This won't last forever. We got lots of time. Change the sad thoughts in your head. Focus on what's going right instead. Oh, stay positive. Oh, stay positive.
COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack.